Right. I'd like to welcome the contributors today, Estelle and Basar and Pep. So, we're going to talk about something very dear to my heart, and that is about the implementation of tech. Something we've been working on for 10 years, with lots of ignominious failures along the way to learn lots from. And in fact, that's how we're going to start, like a good romantic comedy. We're going to start with, the hero being a bit down and out. So we'll share a few little tales of woe that didn't quite work out the way we wanted them to in relation to the deployment of technology, which we all know, if we've been involved with it, is something that is enormously difficult and involves a lot of stakeholder management, change management, and all that stuff. I think we're going to start, before we jump in, is there a poll that we want to have a quick look at? All right. Here we go. You guys see that? Good. Oops, no, that's something about AI. That's not, definitely not on AI. Sorry.
You deployed the tech.
Not yet. Okay. Please type in how often you provide structured trainings and or coaching to your commercial or medical teams. We've got quarterly and weekly there. I know from talking to some people that quarterly and weekly might be slightly on the optimistic side, potentially. At launch. Okay, good. Yearly, yep. Interesting. I think there's no doubt a theme for me with medical affairs, field medical, that I've seen is the fact that they're significantly under-resourced from a staffing perspective, and of course that means that those structures and processes, which we'll talk about a bit today, unfortunately don't get the love that they do in commercial. Now, my quick story on failure. There are many, but I'll just choose one. The first big engagement we did with a big pharma company, which will remain nameless in Australia, this was in the early days when apps were like really exciting, and apps were like everybody thought Instagram, and everybody kind of had this sort of feeling that social B2C apps were kind of the same as B2B apps, which of course we've learned the hard way that they're not. And the feeling was, we'll just give everybody access to the app, and magically people will begin to coach and train themselves, and there'll be all these wonderful interactions. And of course, we discovered that uptake was incredibly variable and in some cases non-existent. And we began the conversation, what do we do to try and make that situation play out a lot better? So I'll hand over to Pep.
Failing, you say. Yeah, we did failing, and actually it's like the same model. We keep struggling with the same issues, and we are kind of serial killers. We killed the digital, then the only channel was the new black, and then we moved to the customer experience, then we moved to machine learning only for a short period of time, and then we have AI. I think basically technology is a commodity, and we should consider technology as a commodity. We can either buy it or build it, but the focus should be in the business area. So maybe one of the failures, or the most important reasons why we fail, is that we don't connect the use case or the business case behind it with the technology. It happened to me. I mean, when I was in charge for the web channel strategy, I deployed quite sophisticated features, and I feel happy for that. But then no one was using that. We need to wait for 4 years until the use case shows up, came in, and then we finally make the best out of some features. I've seen also many times that, for example, many companies just disconnect the engage model because they say, well, the COVID is over, so we want to come back to the previous situation. And it's really easy to do that because if the sales team say, this is not working, physicians don't like it, it's very, very easy to just eliminate this channel, this technology. But I can share how we launch it. We kick off with all the chiefs at the local level. Not only the commercial chief, but also, of course, marketing, medicine, IT, and also the people chief officer. And I remember the people chief officer asking me, what I'm doing here? I mean, I'm the people chief officer. You're trying to implement new technology. I don't belong here. And I said to her, well, in 2 months' time, I will be speaking in front of 300 sales reps and trying to convince them to use it. And remember, it was before the COVID outbreak, so we need to challenge the core interaction business model. And we do that not because we want to save time, we do that not because we want to save money, but to match with physician preferences. So let's imagine the physician says, 9 p.m. for me, it's the perfect time to engage with you. So we need to also be able to answer these kind of questions. So the successful part of this is how we holistically approach this new launch, and all the company was committed.
Sure. And Basar, what were some of the challenges that you faced, and also as a result of those, some of the potential kind of solutions and new ways of working that you developed in response?
Yeah, I think what Pep says is very relevant as well. So because even though we see different practices, we still see lack of collaboration in place. Even though we know what the solution has to be, we need to collaborate. But the thing is, the priorities change. It's competing. But I think Carlos was pointing out the same thing. I think medical should be leading we should see the more medical leadership in the pharma industry. I think from today. I think as a conclusion or as a solution, so I think the medical excellence are very critical here, because apart from digital excellence, like measuring the impact of the capability building is also one of the pillars that medical excellence roles do. And I think the medical excellence roles should take the lead and to create an active partnership between departments, so to overcome lack of collaboration. Because medical, in the end, is not the easiest department to work with in the end. So I think that the leadership come from the.
And I think if I can add, it's collaboration, cross-functional, but it's also collaboration very closely with the end users and with the local teams. I think where at UCB we've been, so I'm working at UCB and I'm working more specifically in IT. And one of the area where sometimes we failed to deliver the impact we could have is when our local team were too upstream and not close enough to the markets, not making sure that the solutions we're bringing are really embedded into their ways of working and not something on top. Making sure that we are looking with them as what does that mean in terms of process change for your teams? Do we need to look again about how we kind of look at the incentives? Do we need to understand how your process will have to change? And also making sure we have the sponsorship from the local team. So working very closely with the market, which in a small to medium organization is not always that easy because we don't have enough people to. So I think for us that's one of the key aspects.
Speaking this reflection on local, in my opinion, all these channels that are somehow connected with people CRM is quite, I would say, easy to scale it down from local to local. But for example, the web, in my opinion, the web channel is really challenging. And I've seen many different companies, even my own company now and the previous one, trying to find one solution that fits all the needs that local teams have. And And maybe we should focus, for example, in how we capture the data and how we make the best of the data, instead of trying to build one solid solution for the website at the global level, because the needs are quite different from marketing, commercial, medical, even market access.
And I think it's good maybe transition to the next topic, which I think one of the questions we were asked is, in terms of trainings and change management, what are the key aspects that we need to look into for making the right operating model and putting the right team in place? And I think at UCB we have one of the framework that we use. I think if you want to move.
Yeah, we got that slide that we can pop up with the graphic.
I can explain it otherwise, no worries. So it's first of all to look at the team that you have in front of you and really making sure that we are understanding the type of capabilities that those people have. Also understanding, for example, in a smaller market, we will have maybe one person covering 5 or 6 countries, whereas we have another country like Germany that have 10 people for covering digital. And so really making sure that we are looking at what are the capabilities within the countries, what are the model that will work for them. Do they have a lot of budget? Can they work with agency, or are we looking for a self-service solution that they want to have in place to making sure they're as efficient and as low cost as possible? Also making sure that we understand for the different scenario that they need to have in place, what are the different capabilities that they need, and really building per scenario a capability matrix. So for us, it was about, for each of the new solution we are bringing, making sure we have the right capability matrix understood, making sure that each of the different business owners understand bringing that new capability. For you, it means that you will need to get to learn those different skills and making sure that those skills are really well acquired to them so that they can run the capability effectively. And finally, I think, getting the right capability metrics, getting the right closeness with the markets locally. And I think all of that is quite critical to make sure that we are set for success for rolling those new solutions in place. And then it becomes even more important when we start to talk about AI or Gen AI, which is even sometimes less understood from, we were talking earlier about the difference of digital capabilities that we have in some markets, some maybe reps or even local teams that have more digital savvy or more from a newer generation or older generation. And so when we talk about AI and Gen AI, sometimes it can look a bit scary or a bit more technical. So how to demystify those topics to make sure that people feel more comfortable about understanding the why and what is going to happen to bring to them more specifically.
Sure, and how's their life going to be easier and better, basically? Yeah. Their work life going to be easier and better. I mean, I've always found that there are 3 key people: the leadership team, we call them coaches, but they're normally managers, either medical or commercial, and then the end user, which is normally the field person, be it MSL or CAM or rep. And there's got to be something that pulls them into the activity and the engagement. And I think, when you're involving technology, you need to work out how you're going to give something back to people. So hopefully that's more time. We always say do 1 or 2 less field visits and replace that with 60 seconds. You're going to get ongoing coaching. And so there's this sort of, really nice way to kind of amp up over time the quality of those interactions between the manager and the rep, and it becomes continuous. And I think people are so much on their phone nowadays that kind of continuous sort of catch-up stuff is making sense to people. In terms of your experience of deploying technology in, do you see that there's a role for leadership to lead, top down sounds a bit heady, but and then there has to be some sort of pull, some kind of allure for the technology in terms of what they're going to get out of it?
I think, of course, one needs to take the lead, and senior management sponsorship is absolutely key. I guess we all feel empowered, we all have great ideas, but we need senior management to be there when it comes to aligning some strategies. Completely agree with what you said. I mean, the collaboration is absolutely needed. not because we want it. External stakeholders are collaborating, physicians, with nurses, with patients, with payers. They are collaborating, so we need to, of course, start collaborating in a better way. And this is where the cross-functional teams make totally sense. And I guess you have been all invited to be part of cross-functional teams, and it's not the best experience you had, because how we deal with it is that on top of everything I have in my role, I need to attend this cross-functional team. So if you want to create real cross-functional teams, we need to create real cross. I mean, the people needs to be there. I mean, the people that I think is part of the team, it's a very relevant choice. So it's not just because they want it. And real functional. And by real functional, I mean they have to be able to make decisions in that team. So they need to be fully empowered. This is the only way we can change the way we operate, and of course it also is connected with the performance, how we set goals for the people, and maybe we need to turn into more liquid organization, so leveraging or making the best out of all the talent and knowledge and experience we have in the company.
Fully on looking at the performance of the people, and I think we probably all have been through that journey of when we look at the capabilities that we've been all launching in the last years, so like approved email type of features, or remote engagement type of features, or remote events and webinar type of features, or now maybe an expert action type of features. I think looking at the performance management type of framework that we are having for the field team is critical. Like, what are the type of new channels that we should embed into the cycle planning is critical. Not because that's more the push part, but like the top-down part, right? Where it's part of your KPIs. So if you want to get your full KPIs from your cycle plan, you have to use those channels. But at the end of the day, they should really understand also the why. And as soon as they understand also the why of, like, as we were discussing all of us earlier, like, we are all on social media. We are all going to an event like here and having a bit of networking and discussing is really something that the doctors really like. I think we had a couple of slides showing that earlier. And so it's also we're also bringing an opportunity to give that to our doctors the same way that as we like to engage through those different channels. And I think as soon as they understand the why, it's not. Yeah, the KPI is one part of it, but it's also about we want to give the best engagements that what the doctor wants to have in order to get that medical education that they're asking for.
I have something to add here. I think when it comes to personalization, we always tend to look outside, external environment, but why not internal? So why we are not assessing the individual's needs? So why all of us go through the same progress when it comes to capability building, educational or deployment technology? Because we don't really embrace the differences, I think, of the individual. So I think this is very critical. So we should really do the personalized version in internal environment as well.
I think there are some little takeaways there, if anybody would like to snap a shot of those. I think just one extra thought that I had, and that is around, and I'd be interested in this final 90 seconds or so. I've often seen people overcomplicate launches and kind of deployments of tech, and they try to do too much. What's a bit of advice you can kind of see in terms of really trying to keep something nice and simple and clear?
It's finding the right balance. I think that we had earlier a presentation about how digital engagement really has also correlation with the success of the launch, also from a revenue perspective. So really digital at the point of launch is critical. Nonetheless, it's true that it's also overwhelming for the teams. So finding that right balance is really sometimes difficult, because if you would wish, you would want to have and the website and the best campaigns and you want to have your next best action engine fully ready, and you want to maybe have some kind of medical insight, through GenAI. You want to have everything. It's about finding that right balance on what they really need for their launch, and focus on that first. That's basically our journey every day. So based on each of the different market needs, trying to understand what are the right capability that they will need for the launch to support the best way that they can with the resources that they have.
Basar, one final word?
At the end, it's like most of them are change management, and if it's the change management, I think we shouldn't be forgetting assigning the change leads or assigning the business owners, because this is very important for the internal organization. And ensuring communication and alignment within the teams is very critical. But people need to have roles so that we can ensure the success.
Great.